I'm Rich Hurrey, president of KiteString, a member of the Storyland family of companies. Today, we're here to talk about a new technology that we've developed that enables feature film quality characters and deformations on any device, on any screen, anywhere. First, let me talk a little bit about me, KiteString, and the team. So for the last 25 years, I've been involved in computer graphics, got my start in print and advertising, worked my way up into games, and finally into feature films. The last 13 years I spent at Pixar, bringing characters to life there as a character TD. Along the way, I've made some lifelong friends who are incredible artists and technologists that all kind of share my same vision for the future. 2 years ago, we started KiteString with Storyland Studios, and we gave ourselves a mandate to help raise up the next generation of storytellers by empowering them with knowledge, experience, and technology. Our first goal was the KiteString platform itself, creating a modern, best-in-class educational experience for students and working professionals. From there, though, we asked ourselves, can we create technology based on everything that we've learned over the last, collectively, maybe 100-something years, that could remove the limitations facing the industry now? A tool that would allow for creativity and artistry without limits, especially with the convergence we are seeing now between TV, film, and games. The answer is yes. We're calling it Ozone, and I'm going to show you what it's all about. While Ozone is designed for film, TV, the web, and games, we started with games as we felt that deformations, specifically facial deformations, needed the most attention. Over the last 10 years, very little has been done to raise this bar. Lighting gets better, effects get better, textures get better, you can have more geometry in your scenes, but minus a few rare exceptions, deformations, and character animation has kind of stagnated. So here is our first demo of Ozone, running live inside of the Unreal game. All right, so let's take a look at Zoe here. And I'm using a game controller so I can interact with this live for you guys. And as I push through the facial expressions, what should become really clear right away is how much movement we're seeing across the surface as I do. In a traditional system, you deal with things called joints. And I'll get a little technical here and then we'll come back out of that rabbit hole. But you end up with these little points along the surface, and they are what actually move the mesh around, the surface of the skin in Zoe's case here. But with Ozone, we're actually breaking that paradigm and solving the problem in a different way. We're able to take deformers and layer them on top of each other in an unbounded, unrestricted way. This means that, if I zoom in here, that when I do something with the jaw and I move it up and down, you can see that there's movement from the bottom of the chin all the way up to the side of the head. And that's with a single controller and a single weight map. Instead of a bunch of little things that we have to try to coordinate and work, we're able to think about this broadly and specifically to the motion we're trying to create. So you start adding in other movements like jaws to the left and right. We start being able to bring the brows up and down and blink the eyes. And all of a sudden, we can bring this face alive with far fewer controllers than in traditional systems. So we're in this sort of rare place where we can do more with less and achieve a higher quality. All right. And as I'm moving through on here live, you can see that, it really does feel natural and organic, even with this early test of ours. Do you agree, Zoe? Well, maybe. All right, yeah, my puppeting skills are getting a little better. All right, so let's move on from Zoe and get a little technical to show some of the wins on the technology side too. So with this idea of solving this problem differently in the Ozone way of looking at these shape problems, we have this little ball character here. So Ballman is a single element, and we're using just 8 rotates. So 8 rotation controllers instead of a whole bunch of joints across the surface to create these shapes. And by attenuating their weighting, animated weights, which I'll show here in a minute, we can create really amazing shapes. And we can do it with far fewer controllers and things that would be really, really difficult to do traditionally, including something like this, where I can bring and fold the character down on itself, and then I can start extending these deformers out. So there's more than just characters and facial rigs when we talk about what's possible with those. And we can also do things that really would be a challenge kind of in your traditional systems. And with these challenges and these different things, we are getting a highly performant character. So while we look at Zoe and we can see a character that represents something maybe we've seen on the silver screen, rarely do we see something this good on our tiny screens in our pockets. So anyway, this is really illustrates in my mind the quality that Ozone brings to your characters across all these different interactive environments. Another key advantage to Ozone, after quality, is the nature of the Ozone assets themselves and how they can be used and reused in your production pipeline. So here we have Zoe in our development environment in Ozone Studio. And you can see that we've got our rig here. We can move the head. We can go here and select the face, and we can open up the jaw. And if we go down here, we could take a look at our rig itself. So this is the sort of full version of the rig and the expression of the character. But once we've done this and once we've created it, then we can export that out as a single Ozone file. So if I go down to here, we have another version of Zoe. And here we have a simple or a single expression of that rig. Now this is an Ozone file. It is no longer the master rig. And if I go down here, and we can see that now we have this single node. So here's our mesh and here's our rig. And with that, we have the same exact controls as we had in our authoring environment. So if I go here and I do this, you can see that we can open up our jaw. We can go down to our head, FBLR, right? So we can lift our head up. We can move our head left and right. So now what we've done is we've taken that system, compressed it down into a single Ozone file. This means that I can do all kinds of fun stuff. The first of which is I can take this character and I can just duplicate it. So now what I've done is I've made a new character in my scene with the exact same controls. And I did that with a click. So now if I select this and I bring up my controls again, now you can see that I have this second character doing exactly the same stuff. And it took exactly one click to do. And I can continue to do this over and over and over again. So if I go here and I move it around and I go here and I move it around and I just keep going. And I could go up to 100 of these and I would see no performance difference. So not only is it easier to duplicate and reuse assets with Ozone, you can also get a huge win for performance and efficiency with these systems. All right. So now we've kind of shown that we can reuse these assets. What's the next step? Well, if I go here, this is another kind of source version of my character. Called this Ozone Zoe Light. If I go in here, you can see that I have a simpler version of that source rig, right? I've taken out a lot of the controls. So if I go here and let's go ahead and bring this open or bring up the controls. Now what I have is the jaw open and just the head, but you'll notice there's nothing else in there. In the other rig, we can move the eyebrows. We can do all kinds of other stuff with our character. But here I said, I want to create a new version of this rig that's lighter and easier to use. Well, this can also be exported out as a single file, a single Ozone file. When I come back here to my scene, we go back to my kind of guy here where I've duplicated a bunch of stuff out. So let's open this up. And what we'll do is we'll go in here and let's go ahead and clear this stuff out. So let's see this guy here. So let's take Zoe 5 and I will bring them in. We'll get rid of that and I'll double click here. And now I've got my Ozone file right here. If I can actually zoom out and get it. All right. And you can see that we've got our single connection. Well, here, if I add this in, you can see that this file here, or this node, is the simple version of my rig. You can see really clearly how many controls we have here versus on the main one. Well, now I can take my character and let me make this so you guys can see it. And I can disconnect it from there and I can connect it here. And actually, before we do that, let's get rid of this thing here just for cleanliness sake. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to go there. So now I've connected this mesh to this new Ozone file, something that I created separately to say, hey, I want to simplify this system. And if I was to hand this out to any of my departments that needed to use it, now I get the full version of this, which is a lighter version of the rig, driving that same asset, and I was able to swap it out with a click. All right. So this shows how easily we can do that, but there's even more to this. So this says we can have different Ozone files for the same mesh. Well, if we do our mesh design correctly, we can even do things like this. So I'm going to turn these guys off and I'm going to show Joey. So this is the male version of our character. And let's bring this mesh in here and I will bring that in. So now what I can do is I can say, cool, I don't want Zoe to be driven by this Ozone file. I want Joey to be. You'll notice that as soon as I made that connection, now Joey is animating the same way that Zoe was animating. Now, in a real world production, we'd want to go in there and tweak it so that it works exactly for Joey. But for the simple, let's get stuff moving, let's get characters animating, let's get things moving, We're able to do that in a single click. And even go here and say, well, I want the full version of this rig. So let's go over here, select this. And now I get all of the controls. So let's pick something that's a little fun here. So let's take our right brow and lift it up. So now that same character, I can move the brow up and down using the Ozone deformation system. And again, I was able to bring Joey in with a single click, connect him into the Ozone file, and you're off to the races. So as you can see, Ozone enables infinite reuse, updating your assets across all of your internal departments and divisions, as well as any external vendors with ease. Another one of Ozone's key advantages is consistency. Ozone versions of your characters or your assets will appear exactly the same in any environment that we support. So here we have Zoe in our development environment inside of Ozone Studio. You can see that we've got our deformations moving, head and neck. Let's go take a look at the same asset in a different environment. Here we have Zoe loaded into Autodesk's Maya, and we'll see that we've got our Ozone deformer attached. And if I open the jaw, you're seeing that we're getting exactly the same deformations that we were seeing in Ozone Studio. You can lift the head, lift the neck, and we've got Zoe moving the exact same way inside of Maya. Well, let's go take a look at this in Unreal. Here we have Zoe in Unreal, and we have the exact same controls. Lift the head, left and right, go down here, and I can open the jaw. So now we're getting pixel perfect, accurate deformations across 3 different development environments. This means feature film quality characters are possible with all the emotional range and ability to engage with your visitors, clients, and or viewers in any of your verticals, on any screen, large or small, anywhere. As a final treat, I wanted to show you an internal test that we did to see what Ozone could do with an industry-leading character. This is just a test, not a final, not finished to completion, but it does give you a glimpse of what is possible with Ozone. So here we have our little M&M character in Ozone Studio, and you can see that we can push through different expressions that we created. And because we're using Ozone, we have a lot of control over what's possible, a lot more range that's possible with this character than you'd see on the screen normally. Also, what this allows us to do with Ozone is to bring this M&M character into an interactive environment. So what we're looking at here is a test inside the Unreal game engine, and we can push through these different expressions. And you can see interactively how smooth and quick we're able to get these expressions. We also, if I pick up my game controller here, can do things like move the mouth around and play around with expressions and really get things going. So for us, this was validation that there is no limit to what's possible with Ozone, Ozone Studio, and your characters. In conclusion, we feel that Ozone represents a fundamental shift in what is possible with character animation in TV, film, the web, and in games. It advances our mission to help others tell their stories through enabling the highest quality characters and experiences to be delivered to your audiences and customers everywhere. Thank you again for your time, and hope to talk to you all soon.